And yeah, that's how I decided to get into it. And it kind of grew and grew. And nowadays he's with Reef Renewal, and they've gone international. They're in multiple countries. He travels quite a bit. He lives across the street from me down here in the Keys, but he wants to help a lot of other places in the Caribbean and Australia or other places he has gone to actually help restore reefs out there.
Quick question. Can you guys hear me? Good?
Yeah.
I hear you.
Okay. All right, Jim. So when I was talking to you about this guy right here that we're talking about here, I told you that this would be kind of exciting because this is kind of what hits on what we believe in.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You're supporting family. You're sustaining reefs before it was even cool to sustain reefs. You still have a live rock source in the Keys. So why don't you walk me through your thoughts, Jim, kind of about this experience and where you want to go with this?
Yeah, first, we are live on YouTube. I got that ish figured out, and that sucked. That was my mistake. I missed a step, and we're up. B, I was thinking about it today. Was working in my basement, looking at the tank, and I'm like, Philipp skips that one big step, which is the humongous import step, right? There's a lot of entities out there, and I understand you work with wholesalers too, Philipp, but there's a lot of entities out there that, I mean, it comes right from you to the customer, and that doesn't necessarily happen. I mean, there are others like you, but it doesn't necessarily happen on a whatever. You go to your fish store and you buy a fish. Here, most likely it didn't come from you. So there's this big chasm of wholesalers, transporters, illegal importers sometimes. There's this whole thing that you're just clipping out, and you're going right from you to the customer, and you're a face, right? We can talk to you, we can call you, we can interact with you. And I like that, right? It simplifies that supply chain. It certainly narrows it down to something easy for somebody like me to understand. Is that accurate?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, think about it. When the fish come from overseas, we go from a fish collector over there to a wholesaler to an importer, going overseas, going to another importer, or possibly directly to the wholesaler. So there's a lot of steps that actually a fish has to go through. Over here, I do have a couple critters that I get out of the Caribbean, mostly out of Haiti.
Yep.
Just because they're not around here or not always seasonally available all the time. For example, raw grommas. And for us, basically, if you could actually get a fish within, well, not necessarily. It depends on the size fish. So basically what's going to say is like you can actually have a fish less than 24 hours actually at your place. I have actually collected fish that I caught in the afternoon that I needed for a particular order, and the next day at 10:30. So we all...
Go ahead.
There's a point of like, if you have bigger fish, you don't want to send them out with basically with full of all the food inside of them that could actually rise the ammonia quite in there. So, but the supply chain is quite a bit cut, well, not even half, probably more than that.
Oh,
but yeah, and there's some great critters out there for sure down here in the Keys.
Safe to assume probably better for the critters too, right? All that travel time and those hops that they're taking, because it goes from the collectors to the holders, to the movers, to the holders, to maybe another round. Then it jumps on a plane and finally comes to wherever the wholesaler here is in the United States, hops around a couple more times before it ends up in my tank. You like you just said, you go collect this and then ship it out whatever the next day, and then poof, that's it. It's to the customer.
Well, obviously, typically that's not always the case. That was just a very short circle. But no, we try to keep the fish for around about a week just to make sure that they are healthy, they're doing fine, and then send them out actually afterwards. We have wholesalers that we ship to. We have pet stores that have been great long-time customer that we really appreciate. Yeah. And then we also have our online retail store on KP Aquatics.
Okay. Yeah, actually, your web over on YouTube, I've got your webpage up. Picture of you and your wife on the boat.
Yeah. That's been weird. That's before kids. Ever since then.
So, I have a confession to make, and I know you say not to do this, but with your fish going directly, holding tank and then going to me, I'll be honest, I have never quarantined a single one of your fish. I know people are going to be like, you idiot. Never have I had ever a titch of anything from your fish. And I'm not saying for other people to do what I do. This tank behind me, Philip, you sent me that shipment. I acclimated them. They all went in. And I have had no issues. You can actually see the tanks. They're checking. They're like, hey, there's that guy that took me out of the ocean. But there's no issues. And the other thing that's weird for me is I stress about getting my Indo or wherever those fish come from to eat. With yours, it's like I throw some pellets in there and they're eating like that. And the colors are normally vibrant. I mean, these blue tanks are so gorgeous. So I do appreciate it. I also want to tell our guests, it's not a warning, but you have to realize that a small company cannot do WYSIWYG. And so you're going to go on this website and you're going to say, hey, this is different. I don't see pictures. You're going to have to actually look up the fish sometimes and look for a picture. But it's worth it. And I think we're going to talk later on. We're going to talk through some of the really cool fish that you offer. But I want to give you a heads up. So if you want that live aquaria experience, go to Live Aquaria and get that $200 tank. If you want to just do a little email, you can get what are you charging right now for the blues? Like $35 for the Atlantic blue tanks if they're the medium?
If they're like 2 to 3 inches, they're $35 at the moment. And then even like the 1 to 2 inches, they're like somewhere in the $25 range right now. Certainly we know what's going on, so there might be changes right now on those kind of critters that they at one point will go up, cost of living going up, but that's certainly a price point we're trying to keep, and we're trying to be fair to everybody else, trying to find those critters and make sure that they're all doing well. So the WYSIWYG kind of part, so when you look on our website, there's still a couple pictures missing for some critters. It's just, I don't like taking pictures from anybody else or trying to repurpose them. I like to take nice pictures myself for like a stock picture. I do get requests here and there for some critters to be seen, but certain other things, they look rather similar. Like we're talking about a Rhodograma, that there's not too much difference between the critters. So
excellent. Jim, do you have any questions on YouTube?
Yeah, no, I just got that working. I did see somebody asked how you collect.
So how do I collect? So there's different techniques that you have out there. Some people use drop nets. I personally like hand nets that we catch the critters with. So yeah, certain different kind of animals that you see out there, they have different kind of behavior. So one technique is a little better for the other one, and basically that's pretty much about it. What we use down here. We don't use any barrier nets at the moment, but it's something you would be allowed to use in the Keys, but it's mostly a two-man job when you actually use something like that. So I saw somebody else asking about the shipping, I think. So for like, when we started, we had a $40 flat rate shipping fee for overnight orders. That's still the same. When you order under 30, it's a little bit more. And when you get to $2.99, we have free shipping.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say what I like about it. District Reaper, no chemicals. No, I mean in the Keys, you can't be using dynamite or cyan. What is it called?
Cyanide.
You're not allowed to use any cyanide whatsoever. It's very important for down here in the Keys that that's been long gone. Has never been a problem on that part. So for my part, I don't see any problems with that. To be honest, I don't want to be in something like that either. I want to be around longer time. I don't have any advantage from the whole thing, and me being a small business and having this, so I can't blame it on somebody else. That's what it comes down to.
Yep.
If I say, well, I didn't know that something was happened to the fish, well, I can't point a finger at anybody else but me.
Yeah, and I know that I've talked to a couple of people that do collection in the Keys, and they take it very seriously, adhere to the laws because they don't want to get shut down. And it's a small, tight-knit community. And if you got a bad apple down there, I'm sure people are not going to be okay with that, because all we need is a couple wrong turns and they might shut it down, even though it really is seeming like what you're doing in collecting is extremely sustainable. You even talked to me about how you won't collect a lot of fish from one site because you don't want to deplete them. You mentioned you go to different places and you maybe only collect them during certain seasons. There's a lot of interesting techniques that you're using that I'm guessing your father-in-law, who liked to conserve the reef and stuff, has really passed on to you. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so you have different kind of spawning cycles. So you see them in so they're basically, you always will look over fish out there. And we do have very strict regulations down here in Florida. Well, I'm specifically talking about the Florida Keys. A lot of the tropical fish collection actually only happens down here. There's some guys probably a little bit further up the coast, but the bulk of it is down here. And we have very extensive laws that when I look at the FWC and they're looking at the rules and regulations, they know a lot about the fishing regulations, but us being such a small fishery down here in comparison to hook and line, it does make a difference for that part of them not knowing all of it, but we gladly help them, educate them. Getting a fish that's slightly over or under, it's just not worth it. So you want to stay within those limits. And what's really a big thing down here in Florida is we have a limited entry fishery. So if you actually want to be in this fishery, you actually have to find somebody else who wants to sell you the license, and then you actually get into it. So, for example, I think there's just slightly over 100 licenses at this point. It's something you can look up specifically on the FWC website. And for example, in our family, we have 3 licenses of those. So you can see how the impact gets reduced on the whole thing. There's different licenses out there. Some are even transferable. Well, some of them are transferable and some are not even transferable. So as soon as that person is not with us anymore, that license actually goes away. So it's kind of like a gear reduction program that we have going on.
Oh,
so you do have different spawning cycles of different animals. So you see certain things on the website sometimes that you don't always see, and then certain things it takes a longer time to actually get them. Right now we would be seeing the jawfish, or we would be seeing the blue tanks, and every year is a little different where you actually see a lot of it, and then another couple of years are like, oh, what's happening to that fish, and they come back in at full force again. And there's been a couple papers definitely published about how sustainable the Florida fishery is too.
So one question, and I redirected to suggest that they contact you via the website, but do you take requests? If they wanted a harem of royal grandma?
That's absolutely something I've done, and I've worked with some guys who actually had very good success with that. And I give recommendations, like if you want a harem, normally it's best you get 5 of them, and then you get 1 bigger one and 4 smaller one, and that's the best setup to actually get a nice a spawning group together. So nice. I do take requests, and sometimes I see certain things on the wait list that are kind of on the higher numbers, so I kind of target those animals too.
Yep.
But I had customers tell me, well, I have some stuff in my cart, but I'm looking for 1 or 2 more fish. So sometimes I actually get the chance to actually go after those fish too, and I'm being able to complete those orders, or them actually like, well, I feel like I'm getting my money's worth out of the shipping.
Yeah, you and I are absolutely going to be talking when I finally figure out what kind of tank I'm going to get to replace my 45. I just passed along a yellow tang to Lynn Reef Nerd, a local here. You know, it was a netted out of the tank, drop it in a bag, drive it to her house, and plop it right in her tank, that kind of thing. no money exchanged hands. It's just how we roll here. But I'm gonna be needing some fish one day, and it would be cool to have something that's. I mean, you and I talked about this one before, that I had camped in the Keys and had jumped on a boat with my family and went out there and was snorkeling around and seeing fairly close, seeing the areas that you're collecting in. You had also mentioned, and if you don't mind me throwing it out there, you had also mentioned that what I had seen in the 80s, what I would see now is significantly different. Can you touch on that? Also, I was watching Chasing Coral today while I was working on the basement, so there's that.
Well, Luca knows. I'm not sure what that is, but I can certainly answer your question on that part. Well, I've not seen it from the 70s or the 80s itself. It was a completely different kind of reef out here. A lot of things happened during that time. We had a very important urchin die-off and some water problems down here in the Florida Keys. So those reefs have dramatically changed for the worse. And in the recent years, we had the stony coral tissue loss disease sweeping through here. So after me starting 10 years ago, seeing what it looked like then, now we actually had those huge boulder corals, reef-building corals. Mm-hmm. Those have died off. And you do see differences in the fish population to that. Hopefully it will adapt a little bit more to it, but it certainly has been a decline, has multiple factors going in there. Might be water quality, might be different kind of other things that come into play. But yeah, things have certainly changed out here, and we certainly are fighting battles of trying to improve that. We have a new, they call it blueprint, trying to improve certain things, trying to find new regulations to help the environment at Florida Keys National Sanctuary down here.
So what's your current challenge, like, or batch of challenges? What makes your job difficult?
Well, what makes my job difficult, you see different. My biggest concern most of the time is actually water quality down here. So we've seen certain animals that were in the upper Keys, then you started seeing them only in the middle Keys and lower Keys, and then you still see certain animals like that only in the lower Keys. There's multiple factors you could think of. I'm not really the scientist on that part, but the 7 Mile Bridge could be a big water barrier, just swooping all that different kind of water up and down. But the stony coral disease, that kind of started more further up north and then came down and slowly put itself to the Caribbean. And that is certainly, I heard from somebody the other day, has gone as far as like somewhere Bonaire, Curacao. I'm not sure if that's a truth right now, but I just know what it does, and I've been down there, and it was wonderful to see it. So I hope it's wrong and it's not coming. But yeah, the good news on the part. Well, we're talking about that kind of stuff. We were talking about the live work ones, and we had a lot of corals that we lost at that time. And there's actually the FWC created gene banks, and a lot of our live rock was actually used to actually being able to put those corals in captivity. And as soon as that disease has died off, that they can be restored back on the reef. And we're pretty proud of that.
Yeah, I think that this is the saddest thing for me, Jim, is this complete collapse of the coral reef system. And a lot of these large boulder corals, I mean, they're older than America is. Yeah. They're dead.
Yeah, Philipp, Chasing Corals is a Netflix documentary. Some of that was from the Keys, and they did show a lot of the die-off. It's worth taking a peek if you don't want. Well, if you don't want to get pissed, don't watch. But
yeah.
But it's something good to watch. I just wanted to say real quick, sorry, I screwed up the YouTube stream. We've got Philipp from KP Aquatics, family-run business with a historical. Your father-in-law had been involved in this type of activity and restoration for quite some time, and then you took over the business at some point and have been collecting locally in the Florida area for quite a while now.
Yeah, it's been like over 11 years at this point, and certainly a lot of things have been learned. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys had tanks for a while, and there's always something else you're adding to it. And it's amazing. I mean, there's a lot of more technology out there, but sometimes a little bit of simplicity actually goes a long way too. I like try different things, and then I want to say 70% of the time I reverted back to what my father-in-law was doing.
Yep, that makes sense.
It's awesome.
It is awesome.
It is. I don't know. I guess that's why I'm so excited about this. Is you know, I got a small business and whatever, and it's just cool to see someone that has a small business that's just part of our hobby. And for me, you know, I love looking at the people that bring in the maricultures from Indo and stuff like that. I like that stuff. But it's for me, Jim, it's really rewarding buying something from someone that it's really going to put, hey, that 1-year-old now has diapers for a month or a week or whatever it is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally supporting your family through this effort is a big deal. I think that's pretty cool.
I certainly pour my life into this business. I'm very proud to actually own this business, and I want this to be a success. So I'm trying everything I can to make it work. And my kids still love being in the water with us. I certainly spend a lot of time in the water myself and collecting and doing all the business activities. But when I get actually the time to spend with my kids, I mean, they love being out there. There are certain critters they actually collect with me. So might have gotten some critters that a 6-year-old collected for you, obviously. And we're just proud. They live it and breathe it. It's wonderful to see, and it's such a wonderful environment down here in the Keys where you actually have that little small town feeling that I really like and enjoy down here too.
Yeah, it is beautiful. I need to go. It's been too many years since I've been.
Oh, it's time to come back down.
Do you guys want me to take the phone off of this thing and maybe try to get some of the fish on camera?
Yeah, while you're doing that, Bert has a question. Yeah, do it. Bert has a question. Philip, are there any fish that have amazed you? Behavior, aggression, or is that normally humans?
So what fish, amazed me with aggression?
Just, fish that you hadn't anticipated seeing, fish that were just super cool and came up to you and wanted to hang out, be buds, whatever, anything out of the ordinary.
So out of the ordinary, so maybe not fish that I collected, but the interaction that you sometimes see underwater. The other day I was out on the reef, and here and there I used a scooter to hop from patch to patch, and then a little pod of like 3 dolphins came by, and some of my scooter had a little bit of a squeaking sound, and they're kind of looking at each other like okay, what? Like they were talking to each other. Yep. And there's some cool interaction, like you have a turtle coming by, a Goliath grouper just kind of like checking you out, coming by. The other last dive at the live rock site, you have that nurse shark just hanging around right next to my live rocks pile. Like it's just something else coming out. I have groupers, which are pets, or they're just like, I don't know if that dude comes, there's some really good food coming out of the live rock site because it serves right. But where I thought you were going to go, like certain animals that kind of surprise you. So I have a good bit of Bicolor Damsels at my site, and I can't tell you, those dudes, they get like 2, 3, a little bit over 3 inches when they're fully grown. Boy, they go after me sometimes.
Oh, really? Like biting you? Like wanting you to leave?
But they're one me like, you're not coming to my pile. They start nipping at me like, you are, just think about it, it's like, not even us to elephant comparison is the right thing. It's, so they can be certainly protective of their home. That's what I see. There are certain other things. You have jawfish out there that have a great personality, just seeing it out there. And one of the reasons we haven't collected it that many this year is because somehow we're late in the season spawning, and you see them with their eggs in their mouth, and we're like, okay, I'll leave you alone. Let's talk about your babies at a later point when they're a little bit more grown, but let's replenish and get as many critters out there as we can.
Yep.
So, gents, while I'm doing this, I just want to kind of highlight something. So, like, check this out. This.
What are you showing?
Do you see the dude? Do you see that dude right there?
What is that?
that little fishy sticking out of the.
Oh yeah.
That's the Molly Miller that he gets for me, but also next to it is one of the sea fans or whatever. What do you call them, Gorgonians?
Yeah, the Gorgonians you have in there, and then you have, we used to call them, we always call them purple anglers, or it might be a purple sea rod, what we call it. You know, there's a lot of different common names that are used for different things. So that is obviously a purple plume, what we're calling. Some other people call them purple bush, but a very cool animal, very hardy, photosynthetic, and we sell a lot of those. Those are just great things to have in your tank. And then when you actually want to fill out space, like depth in your tank,
yes,
help quite a bit. And the Molly Millers, those are cool animals too. Like you find them sometimes in the wave action. They live in different kind of barnacles, and the wave are crashing and they're jumping from barnacle to barnacle. I mean, in a way, it's a tough fish. I mean, you must be living a life in your tank, not having that harsh environment around them anymore.
So, Phil, this one right here, it's a little closed up right now because I was cleaning the glass before we went live.
Yeah.
You sent me this. This thing's growing aggressively. It has, if you can see it, it has gorgeous polyps, pinkish polyps, purple base, and it looks like an SPS. This guy's, for me, this is the best. I don't know, what you said, that's $40 or something like that for this huge colony. So I just want to tell you that I really do like them. I saw a question, do Stripeys eat Eptasia? Yes, these rocks were covered in Eptasia 2 weeks ago, and they're gone. However, these little guys right here, these sassy little guys, they're my favorite fish in this tank because they're always looking at me in my PVC pipe. They eat Eptasia too. I don't know if you've seen that in the wild, but in my tanks, they eat it.
Well, that's good to know.
And then I'll just show you, these are the surgeon. The surgeon tang is right here. Man, this guy can change colors. He is mad at me because I have this phone in his face because normally he'd be up here begging for food. And then here's our one of our beautiful tangs who's real mad at me also. He's darker. The little guy is still beautifully colored right now. Blue, yellow, some markings, but they're really mad at me for doing this to them.
That's awesome.
I find that these fish, you can feed them by hand. And so there is a rabbit fish in the stripey. Those are not from, of course, the reef. But anyway, I just want to show the team on the call just some of the Gorgonians. I have some of your Recordias in my other tank that are actually drop dead gorgeous, but just a couple options, guys. $40, $60. I have no idea how much I pay for this. It's 6 inches long. I mean, where can you get that?
Well, then I could say it was not $40. So you're looking at, I think it was $20 would be my guess for that little piece right here. So we do have nanos which are like under 6, and they're normally, I believe they're like 15 at the moment. So you're looking at, well, 20 to 25 for the 6 to under 8, and then over 8 you're getting into like 30, 35, because they're just harder to ship. You need different size boxes sometimes that can increase the rates. And I do have another variety that I charge a little bit more for because I individually pack them. We try to be efficient so we don't have to raise the prices on it, but yeah, we can get some really good deals on it. I know some other companies that sell them for way more. I guess I could charge that, but I like actually providing something that people can still afford.
I didn't want to put you in the spot because I remember paying way less. I was like, I think it was like, it was something ridiculous, like $25. I'm like, are you kidding me?
I just showed it.
To be honest with you, Philip, I'm going to be putting a 4-foot long budget tank together. And I think those Gorgonians and sea fans, they seem to do well in those simple systems. They don't need a bunch of high-tech equipment to thrive. I think I'm just going to say, hey, man, get me what you can get. I'll pay for it because I'm addicted. These things move. They jiggle. They have color. They're hardy. It seems like you can do anything to them, and they're fine. And I wanted to comment on one time I got a shipment from you, and one of the bags leaked, and there was a blue tang in like a 1/4 inch of water.
Fortunately.
And I put it in the tank, and it was like, let's go, because it hasn't, Jim, to your point, it hasn't gone
right.
Dude, if that was an endofish, I know it'd be dead. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna throw this in the tank. It's probably gonna be dead. I was all sad, and all of a sudden it's like. So, anyways, I just wanted to show everyone, if you have a large tank, the surgeon fish is absolutely my favorite for sure. It knows who I am, and then the blue tanks for me, when they get bigger, they are so drop dead gorgeous. It's almost I would say, Jim, if you give away a yellow tang and you get a blue tang that matures, I'd say you're ahead at the end. That's how beautiful they are, in my opinion.
Yep.
So I feel like the surgeon fish is actually one of the underappreciated fish. I mean, they have a grayish coloration, but as you say, they have different colors that when you have, they change it a little bit, kind of on the behavior a little bit. There's actually 2 different species that we sell on it. One is a doctor fish, one is a surgeon fish. We don't really differentiate between the 2. But I have friends of mine who are like, it's just a gorgeous fish when you have it in your tank. And they are very aggressive algae eaters. I mean, the blue tang, you can maybe compare the 2, and the surgeon is outcompeting the blue tang by a long shot normally.
Interesting.
Can you hold I'm going to have 12-foot long, 6-foot wide frag tanks in my new house.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. You're in the reef, that's miniature size, but for aquariums, it's huge. Could I have multiple of those tanks if I introduce them at the same time, or how does the surgeon/doctor, how do they respond to that?
So the surgeon and doctors you actually find sometimes in little groups. Actually out on the reef, the blue tanks, they seem to be more by themselves at first, and then you find them in bigger schools afterwards, which they're too big that they actually are over the slot limit. The blue tanks seem to be a little bit more aggressive on in having a different temperament than the surgeon. So if you want to have multiple of the surgeon fish, that would be a whole lot easier. Let me get it a bit. That's what I've heard from customers that had good success with it. So,
two questions.
I do. When they ask me about the angelfish, like, can I put that queen and the blue angelfish together? Not the right thing to be done, but I have customers who did. And there's not a strict answer on it. Like, it depends on your rock work, the tank that you have set up, and everything you have in there. And I don't know how you got your Eptasia in your tank, but if you get my live rock, it doesn't have Eptasia on it.
Hey, sign me up.
Yes.
Sign me up.
Three questions. Three questions. So, and keep track of these. What's your favorite fish? Well, it's actually 4. And the most colorful you've seen. Well, how do you treat your fish that you're holding before you ship them out? Chemicals, copper, that kind of thing. And live sand that somebody asked about, Art asked about not seeing live sand on your site, but I know you do sell live rock. You just mentioned that.
All right, let's start with the last one and remind me if I forgot any of the questions. So live sand is actually, at this point, it's prohibited to be collected down here in the Keys. You can get it from different places, but not from the Keys anymore. As far as treating the fish, we keep therapeutic levels of copper in our tanks. We do have a greenish tint in there when we use nitrofurazone green on occasion, and then we also treat with Prazi Bro. Mm-hmm. And those are the first 2 favorite fish. It's kind of depending what I get in. I mean, I do love the jawfish. Sail from Lenny's are great. And when it comes to hardy and cool fish but small, I love masked gobies. I mean, it's a fish I find quite a bit depending on the season, but they're cool fish, they're hardy, not really very susceptible to diseases, just there's something very cool. Color-wise, I feel like sometimes it's a little underrated fish. If you have a little 34 gallon that you have with 2 clownfish in there, I would love to put probably way too many masked gobies in there, but it's just kind of cool in there around, and it just make it very cool looking. And as far as colors, well, that's kind of personal preference.
Yep.
Of what you like. I mean, obviously the queen angelfish is the iconic fish coming from the Caribbean. That's something gorgeous, but large pudding wise you don't see them as much, and they're hard to catch, and that's when they're like 6, 7, 8 inches, but they have some really cool colors on it.
What fish is that?
Pudding
what
white.
fish was that? What is that?
Well, it's a rat. So I'm putting what? Well, I can't do. That's something for you to look up later. That's a little bit of homework.
What did you say? What's it called?
I put the ebook up there.
What was it called?
So it's in the rat family.
Okay.
That's.
All right. So yeah, good job. You got all those questions.
Well, I see one more gentleman asking about cleanup crews. We do cleanup crews, quite a bit of them. We don't have any packages at this point because, you know, I look at your tank, you know what you need to get in there. I know it's like one size fits all approach. I've never been a big fan of it, but at one point I probably will put it on the site. But you can get your blue legs, your aster snails, you can get silly lightfoot crabs in there. Blue legs, I think I already said, but like the three emerald crabs. You have your peppermint shrimp, which is kind of like a seasonal item depending on the time of year. Right now, they're hard to get everywhere, and everybody was looking for some. That's always a harder thing to be done. But yeah, we do have those.
How about another stock question related to the Atlantic blue tang? What are you thinking about when you might have some in stock?
So, coming into this whole thing today, we've had a lot of windy weather. So having this wonderful talk with you guys and having a very poorly stocked website right now, it's a little bit embarrassing. But as soon as the weather breaks, I will try to go 2 weeks this week. But it's kind of like so if I can actually do it. There's a lot of like dangers being out there on the water that can happen to you. My boat is up there by itself. It's on the anchor. I have to pay attention to a lot of things, and I want to come back to my family.
Yep.
As soon as the weather breaks, I will be out there, and I will put it on there. The best thing you can do is sign up for our wait list. As soon as I put it in stock, it will email you. And well, sometimes I only get one item or two items or something. It goes fast, but we try to replenish it as fast as we can, the whole thing. And I saw somebody else asking about, do we quarantine our cleanup crew? We do not. We get them in our invert system. We don't keep any fish in that system. Only fish that we've had for over a month in our fish system. So we're not really introducing anything else, but we're not keeping a full 30 quarantine on the fish, on the cleanup crew.
Okay.
So, Jim, a couple questions on my side. Poor Man's was asking about, cleanup crew and can you get 20? Man, you can get a pack of 50. The red legs or the blue leg hermit crabs, they got great snails. And the one thing you were mentioning about the blue tangs and weather, in my experience, if you sign up for those wait lists that you're talking about, it's almost like, in my simple mind, Philip, it's almost like, hey, okay, I see some people waiting for blue tangs. I'm going to go get some because it's less than 2 to 3 weeks and I got these gems in my tank. You know what I mean? So it's just, again, convenience, live aquarium. You can buy it, look at it, and it's $200. Or if you're willing to wait, or hey, Luca, come back next fall because that's when those are in season, when I can get them. I write it down my calendar, and I've been doing that because I have not ever had a trouble getting, whatever I needed, but I just wait and I'm patient.
Yeah. That's
really the best way to put it.
Absolutely. You said you didn't quarantine fish. That's something I recommend to everybody at all times. A lot of things can happen. They can't show it. I mean, I don't want to be responsible for anybody's tank, but I'll try my best to actually arrive in the shape that you described them in, and that's certainly important to me.
Yeah, that's just me being naughty. I do wonder though, Jim, I wonder about these extensive quarantines. I mean, think about when we were quarantined for COVID for 2 months, how much that affected our mental health. Copper at high enough dosage, for a long enough time had shown to be detrimental. Not a week, I'm not talking about that, but for a long time. And I don't even like giving my own kids antibiotics, but I do believe in exercise, good diet, and you should be all right and healthy. So I know I'm naughty. I'm going to have a quarantine system in my new tank. Trust me, I will. I know. But I'm also just saying that I've never had an issue, and I cannot say that for any other place I've ever ordered from.
I've watched one of my tangs go to somebody's house and die within a week because he had non-quarantine fish in there. So one of my fish, one of my yellow tangs that I gave to a friend, and it kicked the bucket pretty quick because he had sick fish in the tank. I'm a 30-day quarantiner at least. I'll set up a tank in the garage, keep an eye on those fish, and then, once day maybe 29 hits, I'm moving them in because I'm itching to have those fish in the tank. But I'm absolutely a quarantiner.
That's where I want to be, and I don't want to have a quarantine tank can be non-medicated, but just observational too. If it looks healthy, feed it and get it plump, and that's where I want to be too. Yep. I'm guilty.
Well, 30 days is certainly the gold standard. I've talked to some aquarists. They're like, well, if you actually treat and you kind of watch for it, 14 days can be enough. I'm not saying to change anything, but if you actually do like a pre-medication or you actually take some medication, put it in there, it can knock off a good of the stuff out. And after 14 days, you might be in good shape on that part. So the blue tank, yeah, they do get huge. You want to make sure that you get the right size tank for what you have, or have a plan B for that fish moved somewhere else. He's absolutely right about that.
How big do they get in aquariums? Because a lot of fish that get this big in the sea, and even a 1,000-gallon tank, the biggest blue tank I ever saw was Adam from Battle Corals. I know Adam from Battle Corals highly promotes you. That's actually how I found you, because he's a local Wisconsin reefer. His were this big. That was it. They were 9 inches, 10 inches max, and those are the biggest ones I've ever seen. Have you ever heard of them getting bigger than that in captivity?
I want to say 10 inches is probably what you're looking at. I would say that would be it. Let it be 10 and a half or something, but those are the numbers I'm looking at most of the time. An inch back and forth is not going to matter on that part, but that's about the size we're looking at max on there. I do get it. Green angelfish gets 10 inches too. I mean, but if you do everything right and you have that fish, I mean, that can be a family member, like a clownfish can be. We actually had in our family, we had a pair of clownfish that we had for over 20 years, and daddy clownfish is still around, and that's now like 25 years, somewhere in that line. It's awesome. He can be a family member.
Yeah, agreed.
So I got a question to ask you. I pay attention to the I do pay attention to Florida's reefs and stuff, and the lionfish. How bad are they in there? How bad?
So we do have a lot of lionfish down here. There's certainly up and downs also with the spawning seasons. You get around certain coral heads, you're out on the outer reef. You have different kind of areas that everybody calls a little different. I call the outer reefs where it gets, afterwards it drops off pretty fast. You find quite a lot of them out there, and then you go to a coral head where you're like, there should be blue chromis or something else around here. And I gotta say that all of a sudden you don't see it, and like, okay, there's 2 or 3 lionfish underneath it. So, and there are good fish. So there can be 10 inches. So you're not just seeing huge lionfish on my website. They're going into our bellies down here. They are one of my favorite fish to eat. I still didn't see it, but they pointed out. But if you ever get a chance to eat a lionfish, it's very good fish. And if you're in the Keys, that's 100% well, not 100%, but it's a very good chance it's a local fish that has been caught.
Oh yeah, I'll eat some lionfish. And some snakehead.
If it's an invasive, I feel no guilt reefing those suckers in.
Oh yeah, I have certain. I'm not a big spear fisherman. Not actually. I almost don't like it. But with lionfish, I find that to be the right thing to be done. It's enjoyable to actually go out on the reef, and let's say I catch 9 out of 10 lionfish that are out there that I see out there.
That's awesome.
That's very good if you know what they're gonna do and where you're gonna keep them out from. And I try to keep them. I certainly try to get them out of there. That's for sure.
You're kind of like the Florida Keys superhero. You're trying to restore the reefs. You're killing and sustainably eating the invasives. And I don't know. I just think that's pretty cool. I like it.
Exploring the reef, I put that into my family's kind of flume to my father-in-law. He's certainly big in there. Here and there I help. It hasn't been that much because I'm feeding our family down here and running a business, but there's certainly a lot of collaboration on like, oh,
Yeah.
we're gonna go in a different area and collect something there. Like, hey, you want to take my boat or your boat? And it certainly has its advantages.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
I want to go back to John Pennekamp State Park.
I'm sorry?
I want to go back to John Pennekamp State Park. I miss it. All this talk with you makes me miss that area.
It's a gorgeous area. I mean, they've done a lot of like molasses reef where the lighthouse, well, it's not quite a lighthouse, but sort of pillar out there. But basically, they've done a lot of restoration out there, and it's really, you would enjoy being out there again. They've tried a lot of different things for reef restoration and also for certain kind of fish populations. But other than that, it's a looking only area. I'm not allowed in Pennekamp Park. There's a statue of Christ down here. I've never been there. I'm not allowed to collect there.
Yeah.
So that's my time. I normally spend out there and on the water finding fishies that people would love to have in a tank.
So this is an interesting topic with the licenses and stuff like that. So let's say that Jim and I make a trek down and we're camping out in the Keys and we go out with you. Are we allowed to, if I have a fishing license, can I spear a lionfish? Is that okay? And my second question is, am I allowed to actually catch fish with nets, or is it only licensed people? I'm sure a lot of people are like, how does this work actually?
So the lionfish, I have to say, I'm pretty sure you need a fishing license for it to actually be caught, but there's no back limits, there's no size limits. If you can get 100 lionfish, you can get all you want. Certain other fish, you can only get a few of them or within a certain size. So the lionfish could actually make you a very nice meal on that. And as far as collecting fish, it's kind of do your research on it, just running out there and trying to find something. And collecting whatever you want to, be mindful of the environment. That's the reef is for somebody else afterwards, for the next generation. I do recommend it, but you are allowed to get 20 items a day if you have a Florida fishing license, but you're only allowed to get 5 items of one species. Okay. So have 5 blue legs, or you can have 5 queen angelfish. And then 5 something else. So you kind of there's some interesting, but I do understand it. Like as I told you earlier, there's a lot of different rules and regulations. So how do you keep that all in check and kind of keep it that everybody knows it? And I understand it's that FWC officers down here, they know a lot of that stuff for sure. And we have a great company down here who does something like me in a bigger area. Or as a bigger company, and they actually have the guys come in and actually show the new officers what the rules and regulations are, and I love that they're doing it. And that's kind of what you're looking at. So not trying to throw them under the bus, that is not my intention on that. And just know what you're doing, and just going out there and flipping rocks and doing this and that. Just educate yourself what is appropriate as a scuba diver.
There's a comment in the chat on YouTube that says, if you're trying to snorkel and collect with a fishing license, check out Horseshoe Beach.
Cool.
Well, Horseshoe Beach. We don't have too many beaches down here, so might be further down in the Keys.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Where's that? Where is that, Nico?
What it would be.
Oh, yeah. Look at. Yeah, go ahead.
Poorman's Reef does your boat periodically get checked, or is it 100% random when they want to see what you're catching?
There's no rules or regulations when they're actually coming or checking me. If they see me out there, my boat is actually marked with an additional sticker that I'm a commercial diver. I do have different bag limits of how much I'm allowed to catch in comparison to a recreational diver. And but it's basically, I come to a boat ramp, there's an officer, he looks at everything. I volunteer, I'm like, what else can I help you with? And That's pretty
awesome.
I've never had any problems with the whole thing. It's just make sure, like, one big thing that they always have in mind is like having aeration on your fish when you bring them in. It doesn't matter if it's a live well or you have bubblers in your tanks, in your live well. That's all important.
I like to hear that because, you know, let's say some local guy in Miami is like, I'm going to drive down, I'm going to collect my I want 5 rock anemones. Cool. All right. And the officer is like, hey, get some air stones on that. That might prevent an animal from dying, which I can really appreciate. And I like, you know, Jim, I don't know if you ever ran into DNR up in Minnesota, but in Wisconsin, if you're cool and you're open and you're honest, they're cool dudes. They're actually going to tell you where to go catch better fish. Yep. Like, hey, I'm going for largemouth. They're like, oh, go check out McDonald's Lake. All right, got it. Thank you.
But I also make sure that I'm rolling with a fishing license because that ain't my state. And those people's job is their job, and I just need to make their job easy. And if I make their job easy, then I'm going to stay out of trouble.
Yeah. Very true. Stay within the rules and regulations. That's what's in.
Yeah, totally.
So you're saying if Jim and I came down, I'm going to keep going back to
this. Lucas got a plan.
You got a plan. So it's actually, I do have 2 different licenses. So I can have a personal license where I only can go fishing on, but if you actually go on my boat, you would be actually covered to go collecting with me.
And so we could actually collect, like, something that we want to buy from you. We could go and collect it, and then we could ship it from your station to our house, right?
Theoretically, you could. Yes, you could. You know who makes that really hard is the legal world of something happens to you that my house here that I have over my head might be gone because something happened and you see a fault. It's kind of the legal.
I have an umbrella package. I will get insured however we have to do this because if I die at sea, I'm okay with that, all right?
Yeah.
See, now it's an amusement park ride. Now it's a destination location, right? Now it's a vacay. Now it's diving with Philipp. It's a whole new revenue stream. It gets a little crazy.
To be honest, I thought about it. It's just, well, you can think about waivers being signed. That's not easy. That doesn't hold really up in court if it really has to be. And I don't know. It's just
it complicates
the dive boat have a lot of that stuff on it too. And then in the end, it's settling. If I would have millions of revenue stream, I'm like, okay, well, no harm, no foul. I will make a lot of money with it. That's another part. But no, that wouldn't be the part that you're looking at the whole thing.
You know what though? I hear you, and we have some good lawyers that work for us. I think I can get you a contract that keep you scotch-free, my friend.
I like how you're complicating Philipp's existence.
There's Luca. He's floating towards Cuba. It's fine. It's fine.
Like, can you imagine you actually get to, like, I get a lot of size requests. There's certain sizes you want. I mean, I get it. You want to create the cool scape in your tank with the life rack. Sorry for going back to that, but I'm actually thinking, like, can you imagine you actually get down to a site and you can pick and choose from there? Not even the fishing that you have to find the fish. You're like, okay, this is absolutely stunning on the whole part. That would be such a cool experience.
It would be super cool.
Actually, right next to my site, there's one of the restoration sites. 100 yards further south is another restoration site where they're growing football. So there's a lot of cool stuff to be seen on that part.
It would be super cool to collect the fish and then have Philipp ship it and drop it in a tank, right? I mean, that'd be sweet.
That live rock, though, can you imagine that? Hand-picking some gorgeous-ass live rock that has no Eptasia, so I could bring it back home and I let Eptasia settle on it and grow on it.
Oh, I would drive that. I mean, the Keys is pretty south, but I'd go.
That's certainly true. And then, well, the fishing, the live rock definitely has 100% success rate. The fishing kind of part, you have to find a fish. That's the reason I brought that up as a example. So from that, that's different avenue. Lord, go ahead.
This is the most. So, guys, full disclosure, of course, Jim and I got on the phone with Philipp, so we didn't make an ass of ourselves when we talked to him today. because it is a business that we are trying to promote, and it is not. I pay full price. Jim's going to pay full price. We're not looking for deals or anything like that. So this is free fluency at its finest. You know what blew me away, Philip, is the dedication to the live rock. And I didn't realize that even a small tropical storm, you could lose 4 to 5 tons of rock. And so now, from my perspective, I'm no longer upset if I'm paying $15 a pound of live rock plus shipping. I'm not offended by this part because I didn't realize how much you lose, which will go to populate future reefs anyways. But talk about how Mother Nature can really put a damper on your plants.
Oh, basically when I describe it, so basically when we get live rock out there, I've handled and lifted that particular piece of live rock as a pound 20 times approximately. That is from getting it cleaned up to actually get ready to be on the boat, being dropped out there, stacking it. You have different kind of weather conditions, as you see, tropical storm, the wrong weather direction. All of a sudden you have a mound that's 1.5 feet high and around about 8 inches are still sticking out because the rest of it is filled up with sand and killed the organism in there, and then it puts you back quite a bit in time again to actually grow everything on there. Mm-hmm. I would love to say if I would have demand today, well, I can react on that demand like in 2 years. I will have enough product out there to actually bring it out there or to actually being able to sell. So right now there's definitely a high demand for live rock, and I try my best, but I'm also trying not to cut corners on the quality that I'm selling. But we do have some really nice stuff out there, that's for sure. So, but
are you allowed to put maybe a stainless steel cage a foot above the bottom, so if a storm comes in, it wouldn't get buried, or is that illegal?
There's certain things you're allowed to do and certain things you're not allowed to do. So something like this, you could maybe apply for something like this. I have not thought about it. I have thought about something like this, but basically you can have the whole thing just flip, just lifts up, the rocks roll up the other side, and the whole thing is gone. During Irma in 2017, that's I sometimes write emails, I'm still referring to 2017 from Irma, there were people who lost 300,000 pounds of rock there.
That's crazy.
Jeez.
I mean, that's how it is though, right? I mean, you're essentially fishing and sometimes you get skunked. And in this case, it's just your rocks getting covered up.
It's what happens. It's not when people think that I actually dropped a pound of rock or some rock out there, and then in 2 years I'm just gonna go out there and harvest it.
Right.
That's what it is. It's basically you're putting your crops in there. You're actually taking care of your crops, and at one point you're gonna be harvested. If you just leave it out there, the only thing it will sink further and further into the sand. But you have to go in there.
Yep. Well, yeah, Killmouski says, what's the best time of year to buy live rock?
So best time of the year, I would say it's in the spring and the fall. The water temperatures, actually, it's more like the shipping kind of part, that it doesn't get too hot during the shipping process. That seems to be a big factor in that whole situation. Otherwise, we do have more macroalgae growing in the summertime, but our rock is not very heavy on macro whatsoever. I mean, there's different kind of culturing sites further north. They have more of that. Our rock it's a different ecosystem that it's growing in, and it's just completely different on that part.
Okay. And then Lynn asked, real quick, Lynn asked about rock flower anemones. You do sell them too?
We do sell them, yes. We do sell them. I don't know. I saw Luca responding to somebody, so I wasn't sure if that was the same one.
Yep. Yeah, that's her.
Don't worry about it. Rock flowers we sell. Somebody was asking about mantis shrimp. We do have some in there. That's just what, we've gotten quite a far into it that we have pests in our tank they're being hyped quite a bit. There is a reason why they're out on the reef. I'm certainly understand that they're not always beneficial to the whole part, but every creature has their purpose out there on the ocean.
Yeah, even poor man's reef. Every creature has their purpose.
Yeah.
Jimmy.
Right, Sam?
Philip, if I'm correct, you are also a gentleman that can get rock flower Nems, but also the ultras that have some of the real fancy dancy colors. And there is a difference, right? I believe they're deeper water. Or is that false?
Depending where you get them. So they have, I know, different. So when we get them here in the Keys, they're normally in deeper water. You have the green and the zebra or white stripe ones, which are typically bigger, and they normally come out of more shallow water. And then there's certain parts in different parts of the Keys, which obviously fishing parts are important to know, or for there's certainly trade secrets where they are, they're basically in deeper water, and they seem to have more different kind of colors. Is it always going to be different colors just because it's deep? I don't know, but there's certainly different nutritional factors that go into that, and yeah.
How big do rock flower Nems get? The ones I see in tanks are like this big. Do they get like 4 inches across?
So 4 inches across, yeah, that might be pushing quite a bit. It is possible, but you know me, like when you actually, I'm not talking about the base. I'm talking about when it's fully extended, and I want to say 3 inches is certainly achievable, but that's not on the ultras. It's mostly on the bigger ones.
Oh, so the less colorful ones can get a lot bigger, is what you're saying?
Yes, they seem to be thriving in different kind of habitat. Yeah.
Huh.
How about rubble?
It's that a blanket approach. See, that's what I see out there in the ocean. That doesn't mean that ultra flower cannot expand to something much bigger in a tank. So this is what I'm seeing. What you're seeing in your tank, I'm not always getting to see that, or I'm not always getting that feedback. So that flowering, it certainly has something to do with the light that those bigger, the shallow flower anemones actually are trying to absorb more light.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Be my recommend or my thought on that. But the other one can certainly get bigger too.
Can I ask a nerdy light question? When you're at 30 foot deep and it's relatively clear, what's the water look like? Is it blue? I mean, like the light that you're seeing, is it more bluish? What does it look like at 30, 40 foot?
It depends what kind of currents you have too. So you may have had some more stormy weather and it's kind of stirred up, has a little white tint to it. We actually have the Gulf Stream coming by. If that's close enough to shore, you can have 100-foot visibility with blue coloration to it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting. It could be clear down there. It's beautiful down. Well, I mean, it's been 30 years, but it was beautiful. Maybe 25.
So you do have a difference here. The lower Keys, I believe, don't always have that visibility. Most of the time, that's Key Largo is the dive capital of the world, what they say. So there is the water difference up there because it probably comes in a little bit more. But some certain times of the year, the Gulf Stream it just stays out further, and then you only have the tide going in and out, and it can be more green. So there's certain factors go in there. But then on the other hand, like Alamorada is the sport fishing capital of the world. So there's certain factors that play into something else. And that is, but you seem a little shocked by 100-foot visibility. I'm not saying that's a typical thing. I'm just saying.
No, I didn't know it was possible down there because, you hear about the algae blooms from the pollution, the nitrates and stuff. So it's a good shock that it's still there.
That's good to hear. I mean, when you hear the algae blooms, that's mostly on the west and the east coast, and we've not been affected with that in the Keys.
Yeah.
Red tide. There might be very low concentrations but it has like the fish kills you've seen in I believe Tampa area or somewhere else.
Sanibel.
Something like this. We more have different kind of water problems here and there coming out of the Everglades, where there's sometimes too much fresh water going in and out of there that's being controlled, or too much nutrients that have been put in the water. That's more our
3 questions real quick. 2 of them are rock related. One of them Sam put on here, do you ship in wet paper? And then somebody asked, Fish Monkey asked, do you have live rubble? My assumption on rubble would be no, only because you're working with larger pieces. And then availability of a green blotched parrotfish.
Yes, the parrotfish.
the green blood fish. So the green blood fish, we had quite a bit, and then we're getting back to like, since Irma, so they're still out there. You don't see them as much. You still see them plenty, but also making sure that you're not getting a red band parrotfish that turns into a 12, 13-foot fish afterwards is very important.
Yeah.
That's kind of sometimes the hindrance. And, when you're chasing fish out there and you're like, okay, I think that's what it was. And then you actually like, gosh darn it, that was the wrong one. You kind of pick and choose your battles a little bit. That's sometimes what hinders me having those fish always in stock. Then rubble. So we are working right now on bigger amounts of live rock rubble out there.
Awesome.
It's not ready yet. It won't have as much growth out on it as our premium or our starter rock, but theoretically, when you actually have the bacteria growing from the ocean on it after a half a year, we will be selling that rock in the near future. I've kind of targeted half a year to a year on that, and it can be easily probably wrapped in, or it will be easily wrapped in paper. So right now, our premium product, we're only selling in water. We have some more sensitive coral and algae on it that seems to be not doing as well if it's being out of the water for longer periods of time. Might be more exposure to colder or warmer temperatures that can affect, water is kind of a buffer on the whole thing. So that has certainly an influence on that. So we have our starter rock that's been out there for around about a year, kind of went through a full cycle and has a little bit of coralline, maybe of something else on there. We still wrap it. So that kind of jumpstart your tank quite to being ready within a period of time. And the premium product, we're only selling in water right now.
Okay.
Because we don't have that much. It's the top layer that's been out there for quite some time. And at the time of harvest, it has to be 70 to 80% of growth on it. And that's just a smaller percentage. And because we've been selling so much, that it's kind of hard to produce it faster.
Oh, yeah.
Can I calibrate on this too, Jim? Imagine most of us are getting chalky ass, cut your hands open rock that you could use as a murder weapon. And he's like, our starter has just been in there for a year and it has a little, that is so magical that this premium rock in the water has got to be kind of like, basically it's untouchable right now in this hobby. You can't even get it. Yep.
And it's beautiful. If you look at the website, I had it up earlier. I'll click it. I'll show it again. The example shown is just mad growth, right? It has become naturalized. It's been out there for a while. Yeah. And you're getting something in your tank that you're not going to get elsewhere.
Yeah, you see the stages that the live rock actually. So speaking of that, it's like you actually look through, when you put dry rock in your tank, you certainly have your ugly stages that you're kind of running through it. And I see them out there, not quite in the ocean, but you see different kind of growth stages in there that the rock actually goes through. And first it's pure white, and it gets kind of a yellow tint to it, and then it gets certain kind of algae grows on it, and then at one point it kind of becomes a solid product that's it's just gonna jumpstart your tank quite a bit further ahead. And in my opinion, you can mix and match on the whole thing. Mm-hmm. I certainly understand there's only some money available, and if somebody found the perfect formula, I would like to know how much dry rock and how much live rock would you like to do. If somebody has that, that's certainly.
We got a question from Poor Man. Price per pound for the premium rock. Can you just say, all right, if we're going to ship 10 pounds from Florida to Wisconsin, roughly how much would that cost?
So the premium rock is
$195.50 for 10 pounds.
What? How much did you say?
10 pounds on your site says $195.50.
Yeah. So I was going to say almost $200 on the premium rock.
Plus shipping?
That includes shipping, and it's shipped in water. So every 10-pound package will probably be somewhere between 20 and 5 pounds when you actually have it done. If you have a 15-pound pack, that's 50.
You're telling me that I can get 10 pounds of real rock for only $200?
Sam's having a moment right now. Sam's hammering away at the freaking wait list. You know damn well he is.
You think about it. You go through an ugly phase for 8 months. How many hours you spend wasting time on that shit rock, where you can just get some How much is the starter rock?
Please hold.
I'm going to say it's like a little bit over 130. Jim can give the firm that in a second.
Yeah, so 10 pounds. Yeah, 126.
Man.
Yeah, dude, mix and match.
It's really not that. When you think about the labor required to get into your tank through the ugly phase, it's not that much, to be honest with you.
It's not that much if you actually think of the labor. Yeah, when you actually put the labor in there, that certainly is. It's not quite there, but as I said, like there was a time it was all, dry rock. You want to make sure that nothing is in there. That certainly has kind of backed it up, and now I've seen and heard different stories about bigger companies who've done a lot of dry rock, and apparently they've been trying to get live rock sets started.
Yeah. And
all of a sudden I'm not going to say any names in it because they could be just rumors. Who knows? But it's certainly there is people are kind of going back to what they had before they were getting rock. And you basically, before in the old days, the rock from down here in the Keys was bigger boulders. That's what's prominent out here in the Keys as regular rock. Then that was prohibited of collecting. And nowadays we harvest argonite rock or down here, and it's some bigger companies sell that as dry rock, and it turns gorgeous, and people really like it. With our growth on it from the live rock side. So.
Yeah, it's super cool.
I'm all excited right now. I'm all excited, Jim. I don't know why. And poor man's like, hey, that 10 pounds is mine, bud. Back off. I'm like, can you think about this though? If you have a nano tank, you get this high quality rock in there. You're already in a bacterial balanced state.
Yep.
And it's probably gonna be gorgeous. I don't know, man. I'm just nerding out about this idea of actually getting live rock that's live and it has real bacteria from the ocean.
See, I need to reconsider what I was going to do. For the new tank, what I was going to do is I was going to take media over to Moki's house, to the Inappropriate Reefer's house, and stick it in his sump. Because right now his tank is spot on, right? That thing's really running well. So I've got a dude local here to me, just a few miles away, and I can populate my media, not live rock, but I can populate my media in his tank, a known good tank. But I'm also considering this because this is like legit and live and came from the ocean. That's pretty cool.
That seems to be missing quite a bit in some of the tanks that people had problems with. SPS is not having the diversity of different bacterial cultures. I mean, you can get certain cultures through the bacteria out of the bottle, but you don't get the variety of it. And probably over time you would definitely achieve it because you get a frag from over here, a frag from over there, and that must. But you can imagine how slow that process will be to actually fully establish tanker. And I had customers, and I want to be quoted as like talk about the quarantining on the fish. Like I had customers that after the rock in water arrived, they actually got it cycled within a week and a half. That was really super fast. On the part, 2 weeks, 3 weeks on a small tank, but you only have live rock in it. It can go really quick, and it's really cool to see.
You know, I can't stop thinking about the value of this premium rock. So let's play out. Okay, so little Luca in his 120-gallon tank. Okay, Jim, I saw you might be getting 120, so I'm going to use it. Little Lukey gets his 120-gallon tank. He gets his dry rock that he got for like $239 from BRS. Pretty good deal. And he puts it in his tank, and now he has spent maybe 30, 40 hours pulling shit off of it. Okay, what's your labor worth? Okay, cool. But now, here's where we're really going to get value. Okay, I put my first 5 frags, and since I'm a new reefer, I'm probably going to be overpaying. I'm going to be going to certain places online. I'm going to stay out of that orb, but I'm going to stay there because it's real. So I got my 5 frags for $250, $260. It's going to have some swag in the box. You know, I'm going to be feeling good, and those are going to die. So now if you look at this cost of this rock, you had $250 on top of what you already put in that tank. Again, I would like to encourage new reefers. If you've never, my first reef tank, Jim, I had live rock, like real live rock that I got. and I just started putting acros in there, and they started encrusting and growing like crazy. So I really think this might be one of the better value propositions out there. $200, man. So for $400, you could have 20 pounds plus a little bit more of real rock that would take the brunt of that. And if you have a 30-gallon tank, do you really need any more nowadays with how you're aquascaping? I mean, that's not bad. I'm gonna shut up now. I'm done with that.
Fish Monkey wants custom service, so you send down your scape, and you have Philipp take it out and drop it in the water for 6 months, and then send it back soaked in water full of stuff, and then boom. So if you're thinking ahead a little bit, right? You get your live rock ready for your new tank, and then boom. You're not soaking it in your trash can in your garage or your basement. You're soaking it in the keys.
I'm all for that, but he's not playing with UPS and FedEx that often, so on that. That's all I can say on that point. That certainly is a point. I actually had another customer who actually wanted to make certain kind of restructures and actually put them on my site. That kind of, I haven't heard anything on it. I'm pretty sure COVID was kind of in the way and some other things going on, but it's really like certain structures. If you want to have them fully submerged down there, we actually, a couple of years ago at Magna, Marco Rock had actually a very cool live rock, not a live rock, a fish that was carved out of the limestone that I'm also depositing at that site. It was down here at the Magna in Fort Lauderdale. So it got raffled off. A friend up from Wisconsin, a very good friend of mine. He actually gave me the fish. It is still his fish, but he submerged it at our live rock site.
That's super cool.
Over that. So we do have a structure down there of that fish.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, we have our first.
What's up, Aaron?
Jim,
I'm saying hi to Aaron. What? Go ahead, Luca. What?
Theoretically speaking, I do buy a Cybertruck.
Uh-huh.
We could possibly make we could actually do some transportation of some reef structures.
Well, that's 2 Cybertrucks. I've already ordered mine.
All right, let's go with 2 Cybers. We're doing the 4 motor. We're going down there. We're going to get some classical things. Philipp, I'm just kidding. I don't want to make you nervous, but we just have fun. We just have fun.
Fine.
But so what if you could tell I'm so obsessed with this live rock right now. What's the coolest things that you've seen on the live rock? Is there like orange coralline, or is it, what's something that's in? I like pistol and mantis shrimp because you can put a tank for them and they're gorgeous. So what are the coolest things you've seen on your live rock growing?
There is a different. To be honest, I don't have a favorite. I like it. So one thing that we don't have growing as much on our rock because our corals are very slow growers. If you see a nice little piece, if you actually get a piece of coral from our live rock, that is a very big treat. We do have huge boulders that have bigger pieces on it, but it's like you don't want that in your tank. It wouldn't be as gorgeous. So it's just I like the variety. You do get purple, you get different kind of oranges, you get different kind of purples of coralline on it. You do get encrusting sponges on there. And what is a little different, you don't see some of the internal life that comes out of our live rock. So all of a sudden you see little micro feather dusters, all kinds of different things that come out of the rock most of the time. That's like very surprising. I had different kind of pods coming out of there.
Yeah, that's cool.
I like feather dusters, but just whatever you find in there. And there is certain ways. It's not foolproof, but you can do high salinity dips on the rock. It's not 100% success rate on it, but you can make sure that your life can be easier if you don't want any of those in there. But you can dedicate a tank to it. I do sell mantis shrimp on my site too, and they're entertaining and very cool creatures.
That's cool. You play with any backup power? Philipp? What do you do to keep your? What do you do to keep your tanks running? Generator, backup power, that kind of thing. When you got storms coming through.
Yes, so we do have. we kind of compress a lot of things down. We try to actually send a lot of inventory to our stores and our wholesalers, and then running the tanks with generators. But there's also times you're not going to be there, and you actually compress it inside the building. We have some outside greenhouse areas that you kind of break down and put it. But it's a lot of work that goes into it, and then running it. For Irma, we shipped out a whole bunch of critters, and then unfortunately there was so much traffic going north, everything came back, and we actually had the next couple of days planned to actually storm-proof our house, that we actually had to repack everything, send it out. I mean, there's a lot of hurdles that you're going through, and you see certain animals that you still haven't seen out there in numbers in comparison since 2017. As I said, I come back to this quite often. It's starting to look a little better, but certainly things haven't changed a little bit.
Yeah. Luca knows this. I play with I like backup power. Like I've got a reef box.
Yeah.
Prototype here that I'm playing with. I just picked up this weekend. Luca, you and I can talk about this. It's kind of sweet. It lets you.
I'm excited.
It lets you use your battery to power whatever. Then I also picked up this sweet little 18650 lithium powered. This is a UPS. This tiny little UPS for like power heads or something.
Sweet.
This one's pretty cool. But yeah, sorry. I'm changing the subject. I always go back to power.
We'll bring him some lithium phosphate ion batteries.
Lithium iron phosphates? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get him some 280s. There's a question that keeps popping up, and we keep blowing off. The best light first. I don't do best, so I'll just put that out there to begin with. The best light to use for a tank to achieve the ocean effect as close as possible. Any modern LED is going to get you close enough. I think that's a fair statement. To include those that you see on top of Luca's tank back there. Those are his. Those are Quanta Pros. But I think for the most part, when you're diving, you see the blue lights. You already said that, Philip, right? Any modern LED is going to get you close. What I've not done is taken, and I should one day if I weren't chicken, to put that thing in a Ziploc, dive with it, and then shoot a spectrum right from 20 feet under. I'm sure you can find that data online somewhere, so I'm totally not going to put my spectrometer underwater. But
actually, Jim, it's not. There is some.
Yeah.
But I've fantasized about bringing a high UV transmittance acrylic box with a spectrometer in it. We could attach it to Philip's head. When he's diving around, we could just pushing a button and taking those spectrums.
It'd be interesting to grab.
That's certainly par meter, or is it like the spectrum of lighting? That's something where I've got to leave it to you guys. I wouldn't know what to use on that. It's certainly I'm utilizing the sunlight, but I'm kind of planning to do a couple more videos from underwater and putting it online just to kind of put it to action. So we'll put the GoPro over here, and then you'll put your other the meter that you need on the other side.
We're gonna need a bigger box.
Yes.
And the only challenge is for me is how the hell am I going to push the button? I don't know how to remotely trigger a spectrometer like this.
So Jim, I was looking. There's 50-foot USB cables, and the Hopo color is really small. I feel like we could waterproof that Hopo color.
You think?
And actually, yeah, and I think you could be sitting on the boat, push and record as me and Philip are drifting around underneath the water.
That little sucker?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, we do gadgets here, Philip.
Yeah,
we didn't talk about that earlier.
I'm thinking this might work for a couple minutes, and then you get the data you need, and then you're good.
It'd be interesting to waterproof this thing just to see.
He's basically, Jim, saying your spectrometer will be destroyed in about 6 minutes, so go for it. I got a laser here. I could cut in a little acrylic box for this thing and seal it up, and then totally have that fill up with water, and no matter how hard I tried. Oh yeah, so yeah, watch chasing corals, because they totally flood one of their cameras in the beginning. Yeah. And the dude's like this.
Yeah. I want to say, wasn't that in Australia mostly? It
was some Australia and some in Keys. And some elsewhere. They did like several sites. I don't remember the sites.
I have to watch it. I want to say I actually watched it. Wasn't it about bleaching corals? I don't know.
Yeah, it was. Totally.
Yeah.
Yep.
It does have a couple of years ago, we had a lot of bleaching. We lost a lot of recordias in different places. So that's been 4 or 5 years, and it's heartbreaking when you see certain areas like there was something here and it's completely gone, and like not a single kind of all the zooxanthellae kind of left the animal. They're white, and there's hardly anything surviving from that part. And there's certainly some spots, and in 2010 there was a big cold snap that actually killed certain things, or a lot of things out there too. Just got too cold. But we do range some from like 60 degrees. I almost had this conversation with somebody else. Like right now, like our shoreline is like in the lower 90s, and then you go out on the reef, it's 87. You go on the bay side, you probably also upper 90s again, and then you get into the winter time. That particular 90 degrees area is turning into like upper 60s, but also has seen lower 60s too. So there's certain animals like a purple angular gorgonian. That thing is a foolproof animal, withstanding those different swings throughout the year on being out there in the ocean.
Really interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah. So what's interesting is like to talk about global warming. Have you heard of reports of people up north seeing more coral growth, or is it not like that? Is it not helping the corals grow north?
When you say north, what do you mean by that?
Like, like maybe northern Florida, Atlantic coast is now reporting recordias.
So no, that the recordias, certain animals like certain areas on the reef. And recordias, most of the reefs further up north, they're like starting at 60 foot to 70 foot. You go up to Melbourne. The reefs are just deeper, and the recordias they're like a certain kind of amount of light that they just have to have, and you don't see things moving around because the warmer gets water further up north. It's just that down here become more challenging for them to survive in different areas. But you could say like, we get more corals growing, like staghorn or something else going a different area. And they're like, you're not seeing that. It's just a lot of other factors that come into play. And speaking of, we were talking about the life rig. One thing that popped into my mind is certain corals I'm not even allowed. If that settles on my rock, I'm not even allowed to sell it because it's protected under the Lacey Act.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we'll figure this out the light for you guys. Waterproof it.
Waterproof it. Hey Nat, quick point. Hydra and Radions are made by the same company, so you're not gonna go wrong with either one of those. Especially if you could find them used. Well, so it's 9:10.
Oh, is it? Is there anything else you guys want to ask, and then we can wrap this certainly up?
Grandpa Jim over here, he gets tired,
Grandpa, I get up early. Luca's got more in him.
Man. You know what? With football starting up, I'm going to be getting up at 4:45 in the morning to go work out. That's going to be terrible. I
get up at 5 to get some coffee. And then I don't work out, but I should.
Philipp works up out in his job.
Yeah.
Well, it is a workout that you have out there. So quite often when somebody writes me emails, it takes me a couple of days to write back. If I had a couple of days back to back, you do not want to receive an email from me. It just doesn't make sense if I've been out diving all day long. I'd rather take that extra time. And write it back a couple of days later. So it is physical labor. That's
totally.
Yeah. There's rough days. Winter time, it gets colder, and if you're somewhere else, you're like, just go back inside. Well, you're out there and you're making a living on the animals, so you're staying in the water. And I've been So Germany, I'm from the south, close to the Alps, been to colder places. I've never been as cold in my life as I've been down here in the Keys, because we stayed in the water, snail picking. It was one of my first experiences. I didn't have the right thick wetsuit, and I got so cold. I've never been like that ever in my life. It's baffles me in one of the warmest places on the continental U.S. that I actually had to experience that. But it does get colder, and what I'm saying is, like, there's good days and bad days in the water. If you have a flat calm day, catching a lot of fish, you're having a great time. If you can have those miserable cold days, you're like, this is a challenge too. So
my dive qualification was in November in Pennsylvania in a quarry. It was chilly. When the suit squished and I had a little gap around my wrist, that was a different color when I came out of the water.
I didn't quite it. I knew we were tough on that part, but you knew it was done after that one dive. For me, like, I'm doing 2 more.
Oh yeah, totally. Yep.
I do tanks, and I can translate into 6 dives or something. It depends what I'm all doing.
Yeah.
So did you do more than open water certification? Because as many dives I've done in my life, I'm basic open water. There's probably people are certified more than I.
No, I just did. I've done Crystal River. And that quarry, and I don't know that I've dove elsewhere. I think it was probably just those 2. Hey, hey, Luca, what's your name tag say?
Hello, I'm a freelancer.
Somebody asked.
So, Philip, this is
I want to talk about the dry suit. Dry suits might be nice and great, but there's certain times I've had experiences from some other people that have told me about it. Like, they fail at the wrong time, and then you have no protection whatsoever.
Yeah.
Well, you can always keep a spare or something else on the boat, but I don't know. Dry suits are not. I'll stay away from it. It's more money, and low tech is sometimes a little better.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We want to wrap up?
Good. Do we have any other questions? I think
everybody was chatting during.
The thing I've learned about most, Jim, is this is hard ass work. It's dangerous.
Yep.
It can be hotter than hell. It can be cold. A lot of moving, and you have your spots. You burn a lot of petrol once you get into those places. So when you see the prices, I think it seems super reasonable. I guess that's probably the best way to put it. Is it feels like it's a fair price for a lot of effort, supporting a family, sustainable reefing. That's kind of where I'm at. And I guess, personally, I wouldn't be upset if I had to pay $10 more for each thing you sell, because the other people are selling it for a lot more, and it's just, it's a very different situation. They're paying someone in Indonesia 10 cents or 50 cents to collect that. So I'm very thankful that I can buy stuff from you. And, I think that 33 gallon long, it's a 4 foot long, 1 foot by 1 foot, little tank. I think I'm going to go with your live rock, and I'm going to put a bunch of Florida corals in it, and keep it different, do something different.
There's some cool options available. It certainly you can fill a nice tank and having a great, enjoyable time watching all that stuff.
That's so cool.
So,
Jim, what do you got, man? What's your closing statement?
I dig that this is Philipp's gig, right? This is what he does. This is what he and his family does. And at some point, when his kids get a little older, they'll be maybe a little more involved, or they'll tell them to piss off. Either way, they're going to do one of 2 things. But maybe they'll be involved, and maybe you'll even... I think it's awesome that you'll be able to spend more time with your kids if you can talk them into coming out there with you. And I know you have them in the water like crazy already, and I think that's great. So I like that this is what you do. And it helps us. And the prices are reasonable, and I'm all about that.
I certainly try to keep it that way, and it's really great that you guys have me in them. And the kids, they love being out on a boat, and they understand that it's important to be respectful of the environment out there. As you said, look at it like if it's going to be a couple bucks more. I'm sure that's going to happen. things are gonna go up at some point. But you know what? If that brings joy to a lot of people, I certainly. I want to make money. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
Everybody wants in there. Certainly, it has to have a certain affordability status. You can outprice. At some point, people want to say, like, you have a $200 fish. Like, who can afford that to buy it at this point anymore? Like, you're outpricing yourself.
Yep, and like we covered in the very beginning, you know, you're cutting out that chunk in the middle that keeps adding money on top of whatever that fish costs, and so it's great that we can go directly to you.
And not adding value.
I'm sorry?
I hate the middleman because it adds no value. And I think if you fast forward to 2030, I think the middlemen are going to be far and few between because, you know, we have technology now.
Yep.
And accessibility. I don't know anything more accessible than being able to contact an owner of his company, and he is going to literally be going on a boat to collect your stuff. That's accessibility for me.
It is.
Agreed. And shipping, Jim, $300 and you're at free shipping, and your average tang is $35-$40. That's accessibility for me.
Yep. And group buys with the peoples around you, right? Get a nice order together, get your friends, done. And then you can...
Absolutely. Well, let me add something. You're not wrong on the whole thing. I think there's you also still have your as you know, I sell to pet stores. I have my retail business. I do have my wholesalers. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some merging or some like cutting certain other people.
Sure.
Well, some people will kind of like merge in different companies, or some who are going to be left behind on that part. But I do have my stores, and I'm pretty sure they're providing a great quality. And there might be actually not having, you know, when it comes from Indonesia, it goes to one middleman and another person, another person.
That's different.
It's from one person to somebody else in there. And I'm pretty sure they also provide a great service with the whole thing. I'm just seeing both sides, and I want everybody to know that, you know, I love to sell to somebody, and I'm pretty sure some other people love also their store, and I think you kind of need to support all the small family business you have out there and find a good mix.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think Jim and I would group local fish stores in that value category. So no arguments there. Especially, you're giving them more value because you're directly supplying them, or through a one wholesaler, which is gonna conglomerate orders and help ship them out. That's value. But when you got 6-7 chains,
too many hops.
That's and you know what? For living animals, it's correct. For things that aren't alive, you can look at a lot of different routes.
Oh, yeah.
I hear you. We're huge supporters of local fish stores, and honestly, you know what, Philip? When I'm in my local fish stores, I'm gonna start telling them to call you up because all I see at their place is $150 little tiny torch or something like. Why don't we get something affordable and interesting to look at? And if that can come from you or your wholesaler, that would add value, in my opinion.
I agree with that. That's exactly what my point was. So, like, there's value you can add to your local business on that part too. I'm trying to find a balance of it.
Yep.
And I thought that's what you guys were meaning too. Just trying to support my other guys too. And have the guys call you. Like, you know, you might be not wanting to spend the $40, but on like the overnight shipping or whatever what's going to be, but you have your local guy and he's like, well, I need this. You have your group, so he orders a whole bunch of other stuff. It's a win-win for your customer and the other way. Or again, having a retail or like we were saying, you can do group buys and put it all together and split the work. So
that's cool.
Closing statement on my part.
One more. Your stuff's made in America. Boom. The German guy jumps in his boat with his American wife and goes get some American-made stuff and then direct to you. Or to your LFS. I like it.
Yeah. You know what, Phil, if you do have local fish stores in Wisconsin, and I'm sure Jim in your area too, just DM us later or text us. Tell us which ones they are, because we'll talk about that.
Yep.
That's what I want to talk about. Go to the local fish store, support them, and get some kick-ass shit while you're at it, you know?
Yeah, agreed.
Yep. I certainly will do that.
All right, y'all. All right. Luca, Philip, thank you so much. This has been super cool. Thanks for letting me stream it over on YouTube too.
Thank you.
Thank you to the YouTubers for hanging out. I'll do a quick one. Happy reefing, be kind, everybody. Okay, go ahead.
Just what you said, man.
Yeah, Philip, thank you so much. Please thank your family for allowing us to take some time. And hopefully I get to buy you that beer one day.
That would be awesome, and thank you for having me. And, well, I'm pretty sure you got to get the time very soon, hopefully.
Right on. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Thanks,
Bye,
Luca. Thanks for setting this up.
Yes, sir.
All right. Bye-bye.